Hi, I'm Ethan Nagel, and today we're going to be covering 6 Underground. Michael Bay is back, swinging his giant, massive balls into the Netflix original space, combating all the new reboots that plague everything in theaters today. Today we're going to discuss and dive in on everything we want and nothing we need.
Work. 1, 5 for 1. God, I hate these numbers.
Michael Bay follows up this wildly incoherent cash grab.
It's a simple snatch and grab, minus the word simple, because it's not, and minus the word snatch.
Snatch. Snatch what?
Minus the word snatch and grab because they mean the same thing.
Ryan Reynolds heads up this cast of people who we don't know, which doesn't matter, and Michael Bay knows that, so he literally names the characters with numbers. So he clearly knows his audience. You know what? I don't mind. All joking aside, which is really hard to do, Michael Bay has come back with a vengeance.
Thank you. I just threw it together.
Clearly, Netflix wanted to send a prize horse head to the bed of the Hollywood industry. And succeeded by leading off with the critically acclaimed Irishman and followed out by its roided, coked-out teammate, 6 Underground. Okay, it's awesome that someone gave Michael Bay $150 million of an original script and said have at it, but it does come with some baggage. So let's dive in and I'll give you my opinion because I believe there's still room on YouTube for one more film critic.
Well, I hope so.
The plot of this surrounds Ryan Reynolds as a billionaire vigilante and his team of dead mercenaries that range from ex-CIA all the way to parkour freerunners, which I guess is still in demand these days.
Parkour!
Along the way, there's a lot of car chases, gunfights, hilarious but poorly executed dialogue.
I am the danger.
No more movie lines. Okay, not just tonight, but ever.
Along with a lot of dead digital stuntmen. Yes, they gave Michael Bay digital stuntmen. First off, let's start off with the cons. Even though I'm very happy to see Michael Bay back into the fray and then started making films and getting involved with Netflix and really bucking the Hollywood system, which he inherently has pumped billions of dollars into, and stepping into the new era of not only digital but hopping into the Netflix streaming services. The film itself falls wayside to absurdity, which has plagued Michael Bay films since, I believe, in my opinion, the second Transformers.
Oh, look at this mother... mean robot suck.
The editing is ridiculously quick, which is how Michael Bay does shoot film and edit his films. And the characters are very shallow, and the dialogue is comedic, but it's just poorly timed and or just absurd for the situations that they're in.
Cover your face!
Why?
I'm knocking him out.
Another con of this film is the music selection.
Run.
The characters also don't show any development or vulnerabilities, even though the little amount that they do have, it doesn't get them very far. But then again, that's also the script writing and the direction of the film. That's just something that's going to fall to the wayside in a Michael Bay film. Not saying that all his previous films have been that way, because they definitely had better characters in his older films. But the new films that he has, they're definitely focused on more action orientation, visuals, than actual story and depth. Also, not enough intense screaming at each other or editing can save one of the most incredibly recognizable supporting actors. Sorry, Dave Franco. Also, maybe a good call, Dave Franco. For my last big criticism of the film, I'm going to dive into the recruitment of number 7, which is a Delta sniper. Michael Bay loves the military, and myself being an Iraq and Afghan vet, as well as a scout sniper, Marine Corps infantry. The way that he treats some of these films and scenarios is not what I think people are looking for. He has been known to do this. The biggest one was Pearl Harbor, where a lot of people's opinion on it was, and rightfully so, is that he made the Pearl Harbor attack almost look too commercial and too cool, which is not what you want to get out of a war film with real drama, and that happened to real people in a real event. One of those events in the film, number 7, he watches his entire Delta team die in front of him in an IED blast. And the way it's shot and the way it's edited, you definitely feel that Michael Bay is trying to reach for something more, but in the effort of filmmaking and his commercialization, and also just the way that he shoots things, is far cry from, say, 13 Hours, which I believe 13 Hours, in my opinion, is one of the top war films of all time, and if not one of the best Michael Bay films. So it's a drastic tone shift of what he did in 13 Hours to the scene that he shoots, where literally the IED going off and killing a bunch of US Delta soldiers looks more cool than it should be. It's in slow motion, the ripple effect goes through, or the shock wave blasts these vehicles all over, and it deals with like veteran suicide and all this other stuff, which are popular topics, but again, in a Michael Bay film, it's very watered down. It's just one of my bigger criticisms. I mean, when the first time I saw it, I was like, really? That's what we're going with? But at the same time, it's Michael Bay, and he loves the military, so I'm not going to hold him too much accountable for that, because he's such a giant supporter, and I just believe it just comes across like he doesn't mean it to be that way, or insensitive, or any other word, but it just definitely was, the tone, it just was not executed correctly. And to add fuel to this fire, he does the same thing for a funeral scene where the speaker goes off on a weird tangent.
I would have shot the motherfuckers. I would have blown their fucking heads off. That's just me. I would have been the last man standing. I don't have any military background, but I'm like a mother duck. You get in the way of my ducklings?
Attempting to lend humor to a dark situation, but just comes off as it terribly timed. Now, Michael Bay shows his love for the military constantly, and by no means does he intend for it to come across that way. Personally, I just think it's just misplaced judgment calls to bring humor to a shit situation, which we're used to in the military, and I think he's trying to connect with that. I just think it was just a connection that didn't need to be made, and it was just poorly timed and just not executed correctly. All right, now to get to the fun stuff. One, I'm glad Michael Bay is back with an original script and story that has nothing to do with the Transformers franchise. That got very long-winded and was super rough to watch, as I'm a giant Michael Bay fan, and I loved the first 2 Transformers. When you start getting on Transformers number 4 or 5 with Mark Wahlberg, it's getting into some real rough territory. It's also a great case study into Netflix and how they're challenging the big Hollywood industry. They just enlisted 2 of the big top heavyweights of the film industry, which is Martin Scorsese for The Irishman, which cost $200 million, and now Michael Bay with $150 million Six Underground. Michael Bay is not cheap, and everybody knows his film and commercial style. So every single penny that they spent on this film at $150 million is definitely seen on every image, just like the classic Michael Bay films, either Armageddon, Transformers, 13 Hours, all of them. They definitely didn't cut any corners. You can see it in set design, you can see it in location, you can see it in the action. They even have digital stuntman doubles. Ridiculous amount of explosions and crashes and carnage that isn't even on camera, which he is known to capture. You'll see it, they put it in digitally, which to me just makes it even that much more fun to watch. The Irishman, you don't really quite see that. $200 million that was spent. It looks more like a Netflix original. Doesn't really seem too special. Granted, they pumped a lot into the de-aging process, but to me it really wasn't worth it. And the film itself it's mediocre, in my opinion. I know it was critically acclaimed, but compared to Casino or Goodfellas, it falls short greatly. The action scenes are ridiculous, but they're also a lot of fun to watch. They don't quite make sense, but again, who cares? It's a Michael Bay film. You're there to watch it for the entertainment value, not for the fact that it makes sense. The Hong Kong location action sequence alone would end any other film, but don't worry, it's just another Michael Bay scene. The cinematography is also gorgeous, just like any other Michael Bay film. His classic style, low angles, blue teals, sharp images, sweaty people, lens flares, crushed images, stuff that makes cinematographers want to be cinematographers is absolutely in this film. So he does not disappoint going on with this new material and new subject matter. Overall, the film is definitely worth watching since it's streaming on Netflix. I don't know if I would recommend to go see it in the theater. The story, the characters, the overall film quality itself, even though it's Michael Bay and it looks gorgeous and beautiful, I don't know if somebody would want to spend $30 plus to take their significant other on the weekend and make it kind of a big night thing. But definitely during the weekday, if you want to sit down and watch it on a Friday night or the weekend, have a drink, make some popcorn, it definitely is a fun watch. And especially since it's on streaming services, you're just paying your monthly subscription dues to Netflix. So it's a win-win.
You have to be on the walkie-talkie, and we're all standing right here. Yeah?
Don't you give me attitude, okay?
Over and out.
That's it for now. Thank you for watching the film review on 6 Underground. Go ahead and like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the future for more film reviews.